Fast food has become a staple of the American diet for generations. The industrialization of this country has made the need for processed foods a lifestyle rather than an option. So much so that we have lost sight of what real food actually is. What are we eating? What are we putting into our bodies, and why don't we care?
I am eating pizza.
Why?
Why am I eating pizza? It was convenient. It was right there. It was within walking distance to go get, so I just went to go get it. When I work, I'm on a schedule, so I only have an hour to get lunch, and then like you have to wait in line and everything. And I don't feel like there's if I was to go out and try to get something, there's not a lot of places where I can just go and quickly get something healthy. I feel like in the long run, it would extend my lifespan. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of things where that case would apply, and most people just be like, yeah, you're right, and then, you say you'll do it eventually, and I think what it comes down to is you just become comfortable with your way of living or your lifestyle with most things. You just become comfortable, and it's just something that it's like, oh, instead of learning all this new stuff and having the hassle of changing it up, it's more comfortable just to do what you've been doing for most of your life, I feel like.
Yeah, you can roast it. I sometimes just put it in a pan with butter and some curry and some adobo. Just mix it up. It's really good. Or you can eat them raw. I like them raw.
He pops it in hummus.
Thankfully, there are people in our community who are taking matters into their own hands by producing their own food. We visited Maureen and Drew as two friends who share a garden.
I'm Maureen. I've been gardening my front lawn for about 14 years.
And I'm Drewis, and I've been gardening this season actively. But my mother was a gardener, so I used to help her out.
I think gardening influences how I eat because I know what's in it. And I know there's no pesticides. I know where the seeds came from.
But it's something that our ancestors used to do, and I'm not talking ancient ancestors. So when I grew up in Brooklyn, everybody had a garden. You grew your tomatoes, your okra, your corn, whatever your staples were, and you shared. And as a matter of fact, we also had chickens in the yard and goats. And now it's imperative that we do it for our health.
How long does it take for do they grow this around the same time, or do they grow at different times, fully develop different times?
Most of the plants will grow at different times. So the lettuce is the first thing to come up. So I can put that in the spring, and we're going to see it a month later. But tomatoes, for instance, take months before they fruit. And so we won't see the fruit until August or early September.
That's the harvest time?
So that's the harvest time. We do have raspberries, different kinds of lettuces, about 4 different kinds of lettuces, carrots, broccoli, eggplant, tomatoes, kale,
collard greens,
beans. Oh, Swiss chard. That's a lot.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about. Doing a little farming up in here.
Right?
Yeah. It's fun.
Soulfire Farm in Grafton is another example of people reclaiming food production and fighting for food justice, this time on a much larger scale.
One of the reasons that we farm is we want healthy food to get to our community so that we can live healthy lives. Even ADHD and a lot of learning disabilities are diet related. And so if we want our people to be able to learn, to live long lives, to be healthy, to be strong, we need good food. And we find that in our communities, where many of you live in the south end of Albany, there is much less access to those healthy foods. Here we have
the black beans, and inside the black beans there's basil. Raise your hand if you help with the basil. Very nice. And we have kale. Raise your hand if you help with the kale.
We have probably, I think, 6 or 7 different varieties of tomatoes. We have all different kinds of lettuce. Broccoli, where's the broccoli? Right here, yep. These are our sweet potatoes. We have this huge block right here is all winter squash and pumpkins. Different kinds of kale, broccoli. So everything is about the diversity, which really mimics nature. If you look at nature, nature never plants all the same thing next to each other. So we use that as a system and really a guide to how we model our farm. One piece of our farm, as I'm showing you, is our vegetable production. Another very central piece of our farm is our meat production. So we raise chickens for both meat and for eggs. And they live out in the pasture, so they're eating fresh grass, they're eating bugs. All of that nutrition is being returned to the eggs. If you go to a factory farm, they have one kind of chicken. You will go in there and you will see all white chickens, every one of them in a cage, just a little bit bigger than its body. So that chicken basically sits in that cage, cannot move for its whole life. Our chickens, like, how many different colors of chickens do we have here? Brown ones, we got black ones, white ones, black and white ones, you know, speckled ones, whatever. So still thinking of this way of mimicking nature, mimicking the diversity in nature, and trying to really bring that onto the farm as best we can. So, yeah, come. So I'll just show you the greenhouse. This is a type of greenhouse called a hoop house or a high tunnel. These are a lot of our seedlings. So this is how we start a lot of our vegetables. A little seed that sometimes is so small, it just looks like it's about the size of the head of a pencil. So should we make some lunch together? I think that's what's next on our agenda.
Well, there's 2 really beneficial things about growing your own food. I think one, like as a person of color, an African heritage person, it's honoring my ancestors to grow food because my people have been on land and had this indigenous knowledge and were stolen from the land or had the land taken from them. And so it's a way of honoring that ancestral wisdom. So that's one reason. And then, you know, another reason that it's important to farm is to eat healthy food and to raise my kids knowing how to grow and eat healthy food, because that means we will be smarter and stronger and live longer, healthier lives. We're really committed to food justice at Soulfire Farm. Our farm has a community-supported agriculture or CSA program, which means that families subscribe to the farm and make a commitment to pay for their produce for the season. And in exchange, we give them a box full of vegetables every week during the growing season. So they're shareholders. And we deliver our CSA to the neighborhoods that are called food deserts in Albany and Troy, so areas that people don't have access to good healthy food, and we bring it right to their doorstep. And we also have youth come out here and teach youth about preparing that food, and we share recipes. And what we're seeing is that people are eating better. You know, many of our CSA shareholders will tell us, you know, if it wasn't for that box of vegetables, I would just be eating pasta all week because we don't have the money, you know, to buy healthy, expensive food. And by having your CSA box, you know, our family can eat vegetables every day. The reason people don't eat good food has nothing to do with the preferences. It has to do with access. So we believe that if you get good food and good knowledge in the hands of people, they'll eat well. So we definitely see ourselves as part of a larger story of liberation and connection to land.
People in communities across America and throughout the capital region are finally beginning to reclaim the age-old practice of producing their own food. The time is now for all of us to be thinking about this issue and taking steps towards a healthier future.